Good evening and welcome to Thursdays with NAMI. My name is Peg Morrison. I'll be your host tonight. I am the Assistant Executive Director of NAMI North Carolina. That's the National Alliance on Mental Illness, North Carolina. I am so glad each of you is here. Thursdays with NAMI is our way of building conversations and building community about all the different aspects of mental health. Tonight, we'll be focusing on Chinese American mental health. Chinese Americans face some unique barriers when it comes to wellness. There's the myth of the model minority, the stereotype that Asian Americans in general are studious, successful, smart, model minorities who excel in education and accomplish the American dream. Sounds great, right? But unfortunately, that narrative creates a wedge with, every other group. And it creates a lot of pressure for children, for youth, for young adults, a lot of pressure for those who aren't super achievers. So we really want to watch out for our young people. In recent years, we had an ugly intersection of racism and global health crisis. After the start of the COVID-19 pandemic, some elected officials, namely our president at the time, referred to the illness as Kung flu or the China virus. Not helpful, not cool on any level. Not surprisingly, that was followed by a wave of anti-Asian attacks across the country. So, and then there's stigma. There's always stigma surrounding mental health. Tonight's guests are taking strides to make a difference and build up the environment, the skills, the support network available to Chinese Americans in North Carolina. Dr. Pao-Hwa Lin and Ping Zhang have conducted a research study and nabbed a federal grant from SAMHSA, the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration, to learn about their community's needs and respond with just the right support. We'll be talking in depth with them and their work in just a moment. As usual, the first part of our show will be an interview with our guests. Then partway through, we'll show a video of the week and we'll take questions from you, members of our virtual studio audience, live and on Zoom. Now we've got a quick word from our sponsors. Thursdays with NAMI is funded in part by the North Carolina Department of Health and Human Services, Division of Mental Health, Developmental Disabilities, and Substance Use Services through the Federal Community Mental Health Block Grant Fund. We do appreciate all of their guidance and support. Now, without any further ado, it is my absolute pleasure to welcome Dr. Lin and Ms. Zhang. We'd love to hear more about you. You've done so much with your different careers and you've brought so much to your community. Tell us about yourselves in a nutshell.
Should I start? Okay. Well, my name is Pao-Hwa Lin. I'm a nutritionist by training, and I've been conducting nutrition-related clinical trials at Duke for the past over 30 years. Some of the clinical trials that I have worked on were related to helping individuals change their lifestyles and particularly their eating patterns. And these studies, they begin to open my eyes to the area of mental health because what we do, especially what we eat, is not just about knowledge. It also involves our mindset, our belief, a lot of things related to our mind. And I think that's when I started to notice that, wow, our minds and actions are sophisticated and complicated, and it's really not that simple. And then gradually, through my church, I was exposed to more and more people who are struggling with mental health. And I just felt more and more not equipped in this area. And so I began to seek training in this area. And also, I'm not sure how I got connected with Lily Chan. She's an awesome community leader especially in the mental health area. So I work with her some, and then most recently, about 3 years ago, I was able to collaborate with Ping and apply for a community engagement grant at Duke. So this is a small grant through Duke, the Center for Clinical and Translational Science Institute. Okay, so I should give them credit. Because of their funding, we were able to do some systematic survey in the Chinese community in the Triangle area. And I'll be very happy to share just a couple highlights from the survey. The data are still being analyzed and to be prepared for publication. So these are just preliminary data. So Peg, should I go ahead and moving to the PowerPoint, or actually Ping should introduce?
It sounds great.
Yeah.
Okay, let me give a short introduction for myself. I'm Ping Zhang. I'm a director of Chinese American Civic Center, RTP branch. It's a great honor to be here tonight to share our center has done a few things related to the mental health, the knowledge, and to let people understand the mental health knowledge. It's a great opportunity could join Dr. Lin Pao-Hwa for the grant, and then we have done some survey and then some related works for to finish the job. And it's really important to do so because since the pandemic, there are so many tragedy things happen. Such a tragedy happened is really hurt not only the parents, also everyone in the community. Since I'm the community member, I've been a volunteer more than 15 years, and I'm also assuming I'm a leader of the Chinese community. I really want everybody could involve and to get help and then stress manage and then knowing more and then could help each other. It's a great opportunity. We started from this survey to understand what's the really aspect of the whole Asian community. Yeah, now let's pass back to Dr. Lin and Pao-Hwa, and she can show us some decent result.
Great.
Wonderful.
Okay. Sorry, give me a second. And I apologize ahead of time because I didn't take out only the few slides that I would share. So I will be kind of going through just some of them. You might see some you don't really need to see. But to begin with, this is an online survey that we did, and hopefully this is not too confusing. These are slides that I used for our community sharing session a few months ago, and that's why you see the Chinese and also the English. It might be a little too busy for you, but hopefully I'll just highlight some key point for you. So a total of 371 surveys were usable because some of them didn't complete the survey, properly. In any case, we had a very good response to the survey. More than 600 people responded, but due to all kinds of reasons, only 371 completed the survey. And the data that I will be sharing with you are from all these 371 Chinese or Chinese Americans. They consider themselves either Chinese or Chinese Americans, and a very small number of them consider themselves Taiwanese or Taiwanese Americans. And these participants, sorry, can you, you can see my slide okay, right?
Yes.
I didn't use a slide show view, but I think this should be okay. All right, so I'll just show this one. So there's a very good age distribution among the 371 individuals, going from below 30 to way above 51. And there's a little bit more women or female than men. Maybe 2/3 of them consider themselves women and 1/3 were men. And I want to highlight, let me just highlight one I thought very interesting result. In the survey, we asked this question about parent and children communication difficulty. Sorry, before I go there, let me just show you that we also asked about a depression scale. This is a very established scale called PHQ-8. And the score from this particular scale was the highest among those that are younger. So the score was not terrible. On average, the score was not terrible. And on average, it was not reaching the clinical level that would be clinically a concern, that we need to refer them for further diagnosis. I think on average, it was not at that level. However, even at the mild level, I think most of them are mild or less than mild. We see a distribution that the younger they are, the higher their score in depression. And this is very similar to what we have seen in other reports. And then the other measure that we did was an anxiety scale. So the score also tells us how much these individuals experience anxiety. And this one, it's interesting to see that the older group, those that are older than 51, actually there's a typo here. It should be 51 and older. They actually had the lowest anxiety score. So what's the interpretation of that? I'm not sure, since this is just a cross-sectional survey, but maybe older can be wiser in handling stress or anxiousness. And then I think the most interesting data is this one. So let me just walk you through this slide. It can be a little busy. So out of all the participants, about half of them consider themselves parents or a guardian with young children, or any age of children. Actually, we didn't ask them specifically the age of the children, but about half of them consider themselves parents, and the other half were just children, but with parents or guardians. And then we asked them about the difficulty of their communication with one another. So for the parents, it would be their communication difficulty with the children. For those that consider themselves children, it would be the difficulty communicating with their parents. And so there is a score. There's a score that we came up with in terms of the difficulty, and it ranged from not difficult at all to extremely difficult. And you see that most of them actually stay, about half of them about answer that is not difficult at all, but the other half answer somewhat difficult or extremely difficult. And the next slide is the interesting result that I've been mentioning. We looked at the factors that are associated with the depression score, and we found that education for those that have college or above, and also those that consider themselves only have, sorry, let me take that back again. Okay, education for those that have college or above, and those consider themselves not have good health, fair or poor, they tend to have higher depression score. On the other hand, those that consider themselves always have good social support, they tend to have lower depression score. And these are all statistically significant association. Now, this is the one, the bottom is the one about communication difficulty. And you see that both from the parents, sorry, I just realized that I didn't include English here. So this one is for the parents, and this is for the for those that consider themselves children. But both of them, they're highly associated with the depression score, meaning the more difficult they consider their communication is with their other part, either parents with the children or children with the parents, the more difficult it is, the higher their depression score. And it's probably the magnitude of effect is the strongest compared all the factors that we consider, even higher than the education, higher than the social support, higher than their self-rated health. So this is, I thought this is a very interesting result that we should continue to explore. Number one, whether this is true or not. Number two, whether there is a causal effect, because we can only say they are associated, but we don't know whether one caused the other or not. And so we need to have more research to dig into that relationship. And I think that's probably the most interesting result that I would mention. I will stop there.
Wow, thank you. It's exciting to get results of a significant research study that's hot off the press. These are your preliminary findings. And it makes so much sense intuitively that, of course, my mental health is going to suffer if my communication with a loved one, possibly my primary relationship as a parent or a child, is difficult or extremely difficult or even somewhat difficult.
Yes, yes. And so I think that kind of led to some community effort that Lily Chen is leading to offer some, and I think Ping is also involved, offering some parental communication type of education webinars for our community. I think it's a very, very much needed training.
Were there any surprises in the results? I realize you're still combing through them.
I think that one was, well, as you said, intuitively makes sense, right? I was a little surprised to see the strong association. I didn't expect that the association would be so prominent. Yeah.
That makes sense. Research doesn't always tell a clear story, but it seems like your study does.
We'll have to do more research to confirm the finding. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Ping, would you like to add any thoughts or insights or response to what we've just discussed?
Yeah, the result is gave me a little bit surprise at young age people. They have the high percentage of they feel anxiety or depression toward they don't feel very comfortable to communicate with parents. Yeah, that's a little bit surprised us.
Yeah. As someone who has been involved with NAMI free classes and support groups for folks with mental illness and their loved ones, it just rings true on a heart level. And that's not database, but my experience that there's so much isolation that goes with having a mental health condition, whether it's literally you're isolated, you spend all of your time alone or with your cat, or you have relationships that are at the superficial level and you don't feel like the connection is meaningful or authentic, or something's missing there.
Mhm.
Right.
Yeah. Very true.
Yeah. So thank you for that. And we know that Asian Americans are among the least likely to seek mental health care. Moving on to some of the questions on our list here. One study indicated only 9% sought any type of mental health treatment over 1 year, compared with 18% of the US population overall. What do you think it would take to encourage Asian Americans to access the treatment they need? And I know we're talking about Chinese Americans. The particular statistic I found was the broader umbrella of Asian Americans. So I guess you can take that in whatever direction seems right for you.
Mhm. From what I've heard, we also did some focus group discussion before we started the online survey. And from those focus groups, these are the areas that I concluded for myself that might be helpful. And I think one is increased awareness. Mental health is something that is traditionally not a pleasant topic that people would like to talk about.
Mhm.
And sometimes people don't even know how to talk about it.
Right.
For those that are struggling, they don't know how to seek help until it's really, really serious. And those around the person that's struggling may not be trained enough to identify risk factors or to even agree that there is an issue, there is a problem, because I know of at least a couple cases that students, college students who are struggling, but the parents who are far away, not in this area,
Oh,
totally disagree that their children have any mental health issues. They would not believe in that. And so there is a lot that we can do to increase awareness through education, training. I think in the Chinese community, there is a strong stigma, definitely a strong stigma. And perhaps that's the reason underneath a lot of parents that are rejecting the idea that their children have mental health problem. Maybe it's the stigma. They don't want to feel shamed. They don't want to be associated with someone with mental health problem. I think there are all kinds of possibilities, but awareness I think it's a big one. And then easy, accessible care, and especially to providers who understand the culture and can speak the language, that can be very, very helpful. I think, a lot of international students and Chinese students, for example, they came here for undergraduate or graduate school. Even though their English is perfectly fine, it can be challenging to talk about mental health with your, with English, not your mother tongue, not your
sure.
native language, can be challenging. And I think understand the culture can be very helpful too. Those are just my thoughts. Maybe Ping has others.
Yeah, I fully agree with Pao-Hwa. For the language barrier is a very big issue for especially for first generation immigrants, and the lack of mental health knowledge. They also hard to understand the kids because the second generation they grew up with in this environment. So the culture different, and then the kids was totally different than they grow up. So they cannot really understand them very well. Also because the barrier or the lack of knowledge, so they really prevent the kids to talk about the mental health, because a mental issue is a serious issue. Is not like we think is normal. People could have from the issue, and then you can put like a stress, you can manage it and then get it better. But mental issue in Chinese, in old culture Chinese, is a serious, is a really bad thing. So they avoid to talk about. It's just like something they need to learn and then to change.
Almost like a character flaw, perhaps.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Right. Right. As you were talking, that all makes so much sense. And then that stereotype of the model minority too, and those expectations. And I can understand, I can imagine the pressure a young person might feel with the parents having one worldview and my friends having a different worldview, and just the pressure they would feel.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we've
And-
got some, go ahead.
Sorry, I was going to say that, yeah, I think just to add to what Ping just said, some parents, they came here not for graduate school. I think a lot of Chinese who immigrated to this country for graduate school, yes. And so they have higher education, their English proficiency is, it's good. But there are many other Chinese who came not for education, and they just came for other reasons. So their English proficiency is not so good. Their children, on the other hand, are growing here. They speak perfect English. They grow up in this American culture. And so more and more, there is a huge gap between the children and the parents. I know at least one college student who expressed the difficulty of just discussing anything with his parents. I think his native language may not be so good. So English is his first language, but it's not so for his parents. And so it's hard, the communication literally is difficult. Yeah, so it's hard.
Yeah, I can imagine. And the parents come with dreams and ambitions for their children, and they work so hard. And
I know, yeah. And they have expectation for the children, but they, at the same time, they don't totally understand what the children are going through. So I think it's not either one's fault, but it's just communication. So I think there's a good segment of the community that can really use help to learn how to communicate with with one another. And children need to learn as well. Not just parents need to learn to, talk to the children. I think both ways are important.
Absolutely. And we have plenty of training. I know y'all have been involved with offering mental health first aid to young people. That's a wonderful program. NAMI has programs that focus on how to communicate in a way that will de-escalate a situation rather than increase that tension.
Yes, yes. Yeah, that's a wonderful training.
Yeah, would you like to talk about your work in that area, either of you?
In terms of mental health first aid training, you mean?
Yes.
I think Lily will be the one. I'm remotely involved. I know that, and you mentioned about this federal grant. It's actually through Lily. I'm just helping her, supporting her. It's through Lily that she's got this federal grant to provide mental health first aid training to Chinese, mostly parents. I don't remember exactly the number, but hundreds and hundreds of them. So it's a wonderful opportunity to offer the training to this a large population. Yeah.
Mhm.
And it's we are in the preparation stage. We're trying to collect some data as well before and after, so that we can demonstrate the efficacy of the training in this population. And so we are working on it. So things are moving. Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
in our
fabulous.
community, they have they already have some the already passed mental health first aid training, such like me and lots of person, because we have since the pandemic there have a few tragedy happen. It's a time few community groups we meet together and try to do something to help. At the beginning, we don't have trainer speak Chinese, and also we invite some trainer from called ASHF, the organization, and they come to training. I'm the first group has been passed, and then I think every 2 months there will more people try to join to help friends to want to learn how to help the friends, the people around. Because if without training, we don't know if something is too sensitive to talk, if we could talk, what we can talk, what we can help. After past the training, everybody gain the confidence, could really help the friends who has mental illness or have trouble. And Lily will be the trainer. Will be the trainer for next group study. And we also plan. I also plan to be the trainer in the in either in this year or next year, based on the funding support. And we try to help the community to increase the knowledge, and everybody know the mental health is normal. Has mental sickness is normal. We should facing it positively. And if you have a mental illness, you should seek for help, not hiding inside, and talk out. Let's talk about it. Yeah, I think we also provide resources, because since we connect with a different mental health aid group, and they provide so many resources. They have so many organizations doing that. We're not doing by ourselves. There are so many. There well the network we can seeking for help, and they also have some hotline. Hotline is 24 hours hotline. They speak Mandarin. Even it's in California, but we can provide those information for somebody. When they feel stressed, they don't want to speak to the people, they don't want to speak with the parents, they have someone professional, maybe they can talk about it. I think it is great to have to find out so many resources, so many people work on it.
Absolutely. That's wonderful to hear. And we're giving a lot of shout outs to Lily Chen. She's a nursing professor at North Carolina Central University. I'm not sure if it's associate professor or full professor, but she's done so much wonderful work there. And I'm just so glad that she's been involved. She helped us connect and learn about one another, and helped us come together for the show tonight. So thanks to Lily, and thanks to all of you.
Yes. And if I may just mention, if there are parents out there, Chinese parents who would like to receive the mental health first aid training, I'm not sure if Lily, I don't know if she's online right now, but I think UCA might be a good website to go to find the information. Do you know, Ping?
There is mental health first aid.org. They provide the training, and we also routinely to invite the trainer come to the community to train. It's a part of our mental health community plan. So yeah, we will put a flyer in the post routinely to say we will have another group, 15 people or 20 based on the funding permitted. So yeah, and mental health firstaid.org. They have a program. If you really interesting, you can look at it. Yeah, they have the brochure and everything.
Yeah, I think what I was trying to find out is the federal grant that Lily received. So yeah, through that federal grant, Chinese parents can receive the training for free, because there's a small fee to receive the training, right?
Yeah.
We can
But
send out
maybe-
information after the show to everyone
Yeah.
who attended tonight. We can absolutely connect them with
Yeah.
that resource.
Yeah, that would be
Sure.
great if you, maybe Peg, if you don't mind getting the information from Lily, she would know that.
No problem at all. So what are some ideas that y'all might have for reducing stigma around mental health in the Chinese American community?
I think the more people talk about it, the more people will feel more comfortable, and I think stigma will naturally decrease through training as well, more educational webinars, and I think more sharing of testimonies could be very powerful as well. People who have gone through mental health challenges, people who have had successful treatment journey. I think those can be very powerful sharing.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. We have we already have a 5 webinar. It's UC Wave and the Lily Chen in my organization. We host a 5 called 5 language webinar already. During the webinar, during the discussion section, yeah, we found the people, if they share personal experience, it's very easy to touch the others to start to talk. Oh, I have a similar things or something like that. Yeah, sharing experience is a very good option to reach out to let people talk about.
Right. And again, it counteracts that loneliness and isolation. We feel like we can't talk about it. Then if you're in a room and people are telling their story and their mental health journey, it's very, very powerful and very liberating.
Yeah.
Yes. Mhm.
All right. So we've seen an increase in discrimination, even hate crimes against Chinese Americans since the start of the pandemic. Have you seen evidence of that locally? How much racial trauma do you see in your community?
I think for me personally, I haven't seen that in my immediate community.
Good.
Yeah, I know, fortunately. I
I think in this area, we don't have a serious racial or hate Asian crime yet, but yeah, maybe I don't know, but not as serious and at outside other area. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it seems early in the pandemic, I heard a couple of stories about children in school repeating things that they'd read in the news, right? But I haven't read any dramatic headlines recently in our area, thank goodness.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what does self-care look like for both of you?
Well, for me, I need my personal time. I like to take a walk, and I'm a Christian, so I need every day to just sit quietly before my Bible, meditate, pray. So that's my self-care.
That sounds wonderfully calming.
Yeah.
Mhm.
My self-care is have every day have doing something I really enjoy. I don't have much physical activity. I should increase the exercise time, but every day I do at least 30 minutes or an hour reading. Is that something really made me feel so calm and comfortable? And also I try to get enough sleep every day to take care of myself. And
That's important.
yeah. Yeah, I think self-care is, it just be happy, keep something really encourage self. And I think I think that's very important.
Yes.
I agree. I like both of your strategies. What gives you hope?
Well, as I mentioned, I'm a Christian, so
Okay.
God is my hope. His plan is my hope. Really, when you look at the news every day, it's so dark. It's hard to have hope when you only look at the news.
Yes.
And look at what's happening, in this country, around the world. It's hard to have hope. And so I have to have that eternal hope reminding me that there is. It's just not in this world.
Sure.
I'm very happy to talk more about that, but but I know this is not for that reason.
But for me, hope is there is always something could be better than today. And I think the hope is if I can do something to make the community, to make my friends or somebody else better, the life better in some way, I feel that's a hope. That's something I should do. The hope is I could contribute to something. I think if everybody has or will contribute to something, that's the hope. It's because it will getting better.
Right. It's like that quote, Margaret Mead, never doubt that a small group of committed citizens can make a big change in the world. It's the only thing.
Yes.
Right. That's what does it. So, all right. Well, I feel hopeful listening to your thoughts and your philosophies. Is there anything you'd like to add before we move to our video of the week?
No, not much.
Okay.
I just want to say thank you for giving me the opportunity to share. Yeah, to share about the survey, share about ourselves. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, it's a great opportunity to be here and to know NAMI and has those program, and it's a great opportunity to share the result. Yeah.
Well, I am grateful to both of you for sharing your time with us and your expertise today. So I
Sure.
appreciate that very much. And we're going to now wrap up the interview part of our show. We've got quite a few questions in the Q&A box. We will answer all your questions very soon, I promise. Before we show our video, big shout out to our #1 volunteer working behind the scenes tonight, Caitlin Rita. She is our intern from App State, MSW student, and does a wonderful job. And now we're going to show our video of the week. We frequently go with something lighthearted and fun because our topics tend to be a little heavier and more serious. So this is one of our beloved NAMI North Carolina mascots from the past, Roxy, the beagle.
Yellow blue summertime, watching as our worries float away. Feels like everything's going our way. Feels like everything's going our way. Red and pink lemonade, killing time underneath the shade.
So cute.
It's so cute. Yeah.
Roxy. All right. Yeah, she was our baby. So now we've
Mm.
got questions. We've got 6 questions in the queue. That might be a record, actually. First one up, how long did it take for individuals to complete the survey, and who came up with the questions?
Ah, great question. It varies from little a little less than 10 minutes to more than 30 minutes. It really depends on the individual, varies. The questions were collected using established measurement tools, such as the 2 scales that I mentioned, one for depression, one for anxiety. Both of them are validated tools. And so we included those, and we also used some questions from the Durham Health. I cannot remember exactly the title, but it's something about the assessment, Durham assessment. It's done by the Durham Department of Health. So they do that every couple years, and we took some questions from their survey, hoping to maybe do some comparison between their responses and what we find.
That's a good idea. Sure. Okay. And another research question. We've got a couple more. You mentioned focus groups. Could you share more about that, please? What do you feel helps individuals in the focus group, and what were the ages?
Great question. We have 55 individuals participating in the focus group, and we had a total of 8 or 9 focus groups. So each group has about 5 to 12 participants in it. And the focus group was a very good format, in my opinion. Seems like my impression. People, we used Zoom also, and people were very freely talk about the questions that we prepared. And we prepared mainly 3 questions. We asked them, what do you think about mental health? When your Chinese community think about mental health, what do they think? So that's one, a very open-ended question. The second one is, what's the barrier to getting mental health service or care? What kind of barriers do you think there are? And the third would be, what kind of actionable suggestions do you suggest for the Chinese to receive more care when they need it? And so those were very helpful questions, and we actually took some of the responses and include them in the survey as well. So survey also utilize some of the responses from the focus groups. And I think it's very consistent. What the focus group found, we concluded with some themes. For each of the question, we were able to identify like a theme that every group agreed upon. And it's very consistent across the 55 individuals. Everyone agreed that education is very much needed in terms of mental health, because awareness is so low. There's just so little awareness about mental health. And so that's very consistent. And then the other thing is easy, accessible care. I think I mentioned that earlier. People are struggling. What do they do? What do they do? They don't know where to find help. They don't know the difference between psychiatrists and psychologists. What do they mean? What does counselor mean? Therapist mean? There's a lot of unknown about all those terms, and not to mention how to find help from those individuals. Yeah, so those are, I think the focus groups gave us responses that's very consistent with what we find from the survey.
Mhm. Your participation numbers were very good from the sounds of it.
Yeah, it was, I think that's an indication that this is a topic that is very much needed. We put out the advertisement to recruit people for the focus group, and we were able to finish conducting the focus groups from the first promotion to finish of 9 groups, 8 or 9 groups. It was less than 3 months. It's
Wow.
unbelievable timing.
Very streamlined. Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
I think the need of this area really reflects, the responses really reflects the need of this topic in the community. Yeah.
Sounds like it. Comment from Diane Crisanda. She is our board president at NAMI North Carolina, as well as for the affiliate in the western part of the state, NAMI South Mountains. Your research is exceptional, she writes. What do you feel is the most pressing issue that you've identified for Chinese Americans?
I may sound like I'm repeating myself, but I think I was summarizing a few points. One is education, training, education. I think education can be just seminars, webinars, just increasing knowledge about mental health awareness. And then more specifically, training like mental health first aid training. That is more focused, and that's very much needed as well. But that's different from the education type of seminars. I think both are needed. And then I think the other one is something that Lily Chen has been doing through her organization, the UCA organization. And it's storytelling. Storytelling. They have videos of individuals who have gone through mental health challenges, and they made them into stories, videos, short videos. They're very powerful. And so I think those are all different ways, different approaches that can really help people, help the Chinese community to pay attention to this topic and to do something about it, and to identify risk factors and to seek help. I think that area is something, in my opinion, we don't really have a good system yet. So once you identify a need, what do? That's part of a purpose of the federal grant that Lily received, is to establish a referral system and to even track the usage of the referral system. I think right now it's very much lacking. It's not a very set up system yet. And hopefully there will be more and more providers from the Chinese community that will be able to provide the care in native language and know the culture as well. So there are many different areas that really need to be worked on. And I think the education and the mental health first aid training those two are moving forward a lot more than the other two. If that makes sense.
I think so. And Ping, do you have thoughts, reflections, anything you'd like to share?
I think Pao-Hwa gave the pretty complete. I completely agree with the Pao-Hwa, and for our study and the result. And yeah, it's it just it's a start to let the whole community realize that mental health is very important. And we do the survey, and then all the other community group do other education. We work together. Yeah. I think it's good start.
All right. And I see here an invitation from Diane to give a similar presentation to NAMI South Mountain. So I'll connect all of you and research by email after this presentation, so you can sort that out and have that communication. And Dr. Lin, you mentioned more work, more research needs to be done. What does that look like?
There are many possibilities. One of them is to conduct more in-person interview. The reason is that the survey we did was online, it was anonymous. And even though we use email, we did collect email in order to give them gift card. We didn't have any other information. Well, actually, sorry, let me take that back. We did ask gender and age, but we didn't ask like names. So we couldn't really get into more personal questions through the online survey. So I think in-person interview will be another way to collect similar data, but you might be able to go even deeper. For example, the parent-children communication, you probably can go deeper in-person interview. And understand about why did you say extremely difficult? What do you mean? Is it simply just your language, or is it something else? And so I think that's one thing. And then the second thing will be to test some kind of intervention program. So in terms of parent-children communication difficulty, there can be, I don't know yet what that would look like, but there can be an intervention program to help both parts, both the parents and the children, in terms of communication skill. So maybe through the intervention program, their communication difficulty can decrease, hopefully substantially, but that needs to be tested. I think there are many communication experts out there, and I'm pretty sure there are communication experts in the Chinese population as well. I just am not familiar with that myself, but I think that would be a study that will be helpful. So if you can test a program that's effective, then you can implement that in a larger scale to, lots of people.
Mm-hmm.
So those are two examples. And one thing that I didn't point out so much in the study result is that I also asked about eating behavior. And it's very interesting. So I didn't show that data because I still need to analyze the data more. But it's very interesting that people who rated themselves higher on the depression scale, they also tend to eat a lot more to-go food, processed food. So
really,
why is that? Is there a causal relationship? I don't know. And being a nutritionist by training, I want to believe that there may be something there. Yeah.
How significant was that?
It was very significant. It was
Mm.
very significant. Yeah. It's very interesting. So statistically, it is significant. Whether it's clinically meaningful or not, I still need to examine more. But that's another example of the next step of research that I would like to look at to see if, and it's, it is possible because there could be physiological reasons that are contributing to your mental status,
Mhm.
right? Lack of vitamins, or maybe there's just too much oxidants, or there's just too much inflammation going on in your body that is also contributing to the depression.
Mm.
We don't know. There is a possibility.
Well, personally, I would love to learn more about that. I'm not giving up my frozen yogurt bars until I have to.
Okay, well, we can talk about that offline, but I may not put that, depending on the ingredients, depending on the bar. It may not be considered the super processed food.
Okay. Good. There's a ray of hope.
Yeah.
Alright.
Yes.
Wonderful. So I'm going to make some general announcements. We have a lull in our questions. Please join us next week. I'll be talking with actually the vice president of NAMI South Mountains, such an active affiliate, Natalie Elliott. Fascinating story. She lived with depression for a number of years, also lives with fibromyalgia. And after getting prescribed Neurontin for pain, she had a psychotic episode. A very severe one, hearing voices, demons and angels. Join us to learn how the process of how she learned what was causing those symptoms, how she changed her life, how she became a mental health advocate with help from NAMI and Diane Chrysanda in particular. So interesting how things all tie together. Please fill out our survey when you leave our Zoom program. A survey will magically appear. It's a few quick questions. You've been hearing the importance of survey results and how much it helps us learn and grow and change the world for the better. Let us know what you thought of tonight's show. It helps us improve over time and all that good stuff. So Dr. Lin Ping, do you have any closing thoughts before we wrap up?
Not really. I'm happy to share my email if people have questions, comments, suggestions. I'm more than happy to receive them.
Okay.
Should I type my email address in the chat box?
Sure, feel free, definitely. And I have a note to send the mental health first aid link to people so I can include it in that message as well.
Yeah, we will do more community work to provide a webinar or in-person talk to give a chance to let people to learn the mental health knowledge and give a chance to talk, to share the experience, their story, personal awareness, to let everybody to find a way to manage.
Well, I love that idea. I know personally how empowering and freeing it is to do that. And I look forward to hearing more.
Great.
All right. Well, if you're out
Super.
there feeling alone, please call us at NAMI. Let us know if you'd like to learn more about the excellent work of Ping and Dr. Lin. We'd love to hear from you. And have a wonderful week, everyone. Be safe.
You too. Thank
You
you,
too.
Claire. Thank you.
Thank you. Good
Bye-bye.
night.
Take care.
Bye.